What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Or should I say gentlemen? Because I know not a lot of guys want to learn how to draft a princess that, and I digress. Anyway, welcome to the channel. My name is Ndifon Ntui. Today I'll be teaching you how to draft a princess that. Now, this is one of two methods that I use when I'm drafting a princess that. When I'm sewing something more traditional, in case you don't know already, I am a Nigerian, and our ladies they like things a certain way. So this method is it leans toward African wear, but I'll make a video later on that I use for a princess that for English wear. This is the video on how to draft a princess that, and if you use this method, this is the result that you will get. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and do not forget to subscribe. It will mean a lot to me. It will mean a great deal. To me. You're welcome once again to another tutorial. Today we are cutting a princess that. You will need a pen, a ruler, and a measuring tape. You also need paper tape to secure the edges of your pattern paper. These are the measurements that we are going to need for the princess that. So the first thing I'm going to do is to fold my paper. When I'm done folding my paper, I would use the paper tape to secure the edges of my paper so that the paper doesn't move back and forth while I'm working. The first thing we will do is to place the shoulder measurements. The shoulder is 14 divided by 2 is equals to 7. And we would place it down on our pattern paper and would mark. The next thing we will do is to mark ½ inch at the top. This ½ inch will act as our seam allowance, as our sewing allowance when we're trying to bind our shoulders together. From that ½ inch line, I would mark my underbust length at 15, and I'm going to count up 4 inches from that point in order to know where to place my bust. Count 4 steps up and we'll place the bust. The next thing I'm going to place is my half cut. When you are making a top, a dress, anything that has a cut, we don't place the cut directly at the underbust length. If not, you end up looking funny. We add 2 inches to the underbust length in order to bring it down. So that's what I'm doing now. Now I'm going to roll a line across all the points that I have marked. When I'm done with rolling the lines, I will place all my measurements across. The first thing I'm placing is my bust measurement. My bust is divided by 4, it is 9.5. I'll make a mark. The next thing I'm going to place is my underbust round. The underbust round is 31 divided by 4 is 7.75. I'm going to place the same thing at my half cut. I'm also placing 7.75 at that point. For the neckline width and the neckline depth, we are using 3x3. Please, it is not always 3x3. It changes according to the style or the design, whatever you are making. If I was doing if I was trying to do to have a V-neck, I would not use 3x3. For example, I will slope my shoulder by 1 inch because a human being's shoulder is slanted, it is not straight. If you make it straight, you end up looking like a character out of Voltron or the Power Rangers. Now, how to find the armhole? The formula for finding the armhole is your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. Our answer is 7.83, something crazy like that. Those approximated to 8. That's what I have done here. I'm going to roll my line straight down, and I'm going to roll another line. With this, we've gotten our upper chest. Now I'll mark the middle of the armhole. The armhole was 8, the middle is 4. I will come in by ½ inch. If you are confused, please check out the video on how to draft a bodice. It would clear up things for you if you have any confusions. I'm sorry for blocking y'all. I didn't know that's what was going on. I'm sorry. Now I would draw a straight line from the armhole, connecting all my dots together. I will not draw a line from my bust to my underbust round and then to my half cut, because it will deform the line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line straight from the armhole to the half cut, ignoring the underbust length. The next thing I'm going to do is to place my nipple to nipple measurement. Nipple to nipple measurement is 8, is divided by 2, which equals to 4. I'm adding half inch. That half inch is going to serve as my sewing allowance, so that if I keep it, because if I keep it at 4 and I sew, I'll end up having 3.5, which is 7. I'm going to mark the same 4.5 at all the horizontal lines that I have besides my shoulder. Now, I'm going to measure around the armhole to find the middle of the armhole in order to get the top part of the dart. So I'm going to start from the top and I'm going to guide the tape around the armhole. When I get to that point, I will stop. I had 10, so I'm going to come back to the top and I'm going to count to where 5 is, and that is where I'm going to place the first line for my princess dart. I will draw a curve connecting the armhole to the previous line I have drawn at the nipple to nipple. Now, from that center point, I'm going to go up by half inch and come down by 1 inch. This is going to help us to make the princess dart pop more, and also to help us hold it down at the armhole. When you're done with that, when I place my ruler that way, you see that the bottom part of the armhole is now shorter than the top part. So we have to extend the bottom part of the princess dart by 1 inch, so that by the time when we are trying to sew, everything sits in place. If you do not do this, you will end up with the bottom part of the princess dart being shorter than the top part of the princess dart. When we're done with that, the next thing we're going to do is that from the underbust length, we're going to come up by half an inch. This is to create a little lift at the underbust length, since we are going to be padding this. The next thing I'm going to do is from the center point, I'm going to mark 2 inches in at the underbust length and at the half cut. Now, this 2 inches is not the same thing for every single size. It depends on the person's bust size. If the person has a bust size from 32 to around 35, you can use 1.5. If the person has a bust size from 36 all the way to 40, you can do 2 inches. If the person has a bust of 40 up, you can do 43 up, you can do 2.5. So I've connected my line from the center, from my bust point to the half inch line. When I'm done with that, I'm going to replace back the 2 inches that I took out before I keep my allowance. So at this point I'm adding my allowance. The first 2 inches that I added at the bottom was to replace the 2 inches that I took out from the half cut and the underbust length. When I'm done with all of that, I'll add half inch at the bottom of my bodice. I'm going to add half inch at the top, draw a parallel line of half inch at the top. That is going to function as my allowance at the shoulder. Let me label everything out so that it would be a lot easier for you to understand, because I know that all these plenty lines can get quite confusing for beginners. So that line is the half cut. The one in the middle is the underbust round. The top part is the shoulder. Now that is the front part of the princess dart. I'm going to cut it out. If this is confusing, I think you should check out how to draft a bodice. My video on how to draft a bodice, it would do you some good. And please do not forget to subscribe if you are enjoying the content that I am bringing. Thank you for watching this far. Now please look closely at how I'm cutting. I'm cutting the line, the first half inch that I had, I'm cutting the top part, not the first half inch that I had. And then please watch closely so that you do not make a mistake. Now this is the front part of our princess that, as you can see, it looks like the picture that I showed you in the intro already, even without binding it. It's time to cut the back. So first thing I'm going to do is to fold the back. After I fold the back, I'm going to use my paper tape to secure it down. Then the first thing I'm going to do is to draw my shoulder line. When I'm done with that, I'm going to mark 2 inches from the edge of my paper. I'm marking 2 inches from top to bottom. This is going to serve as my zipper allowance. Some people call it zip space. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm going to roll a line from the top, connecting all the dots that I have drawn so far to the bottom. So I'm writing it down so we don't forget that that's our zipper allowance. All measurements that will be taken from now on will be taken from that line. So I'm marking all my vital points. Sorry for blocking your view again. I've marked my bust points, I've marked my under bust length and my half cut. I'm going to rule some horizontal lines just like we did in the front part. Marking my shoulder. Please, the neckline width stays the same. The only thing that will change is the neckline depth. So the neckline width is 3, the neckline depth is 1 inch. This is not always the standard, it changes according to design. I would also slope my shoulder at the back by 1 inch. Now, here I've already added my shoulder allowance, my sewing allowance at my shoulder. Now I'm going to place my armhole. It's the same formula we use for the front that we shall use for the back. Unlike the front, you do not come in by half an inch at the armhole. You just slope it. You do not come in by half an inch. When I'm done, I'm going to mark my bust measurements, and like I said, we will ignore the under bust round and go straight to the half cut and place our under bust round at that point. Now, under bust round, the distance around your torso, your body immediately under the bust. Now I'm placing my darts. There are different ways we can dart this. If you want to, this first method is if you don't want to have a princess dart at the back too. This is a regular dart, a regular straight dart at the back. Now that is a regular straight dart. But if you do not want this and you want to princess dart at the back, you measure the armhole. There's still 10. We're going to come to 5 and make a dot. I'm going to connect that dot straight to the bust point, not to the old dart that we had, please. Straight to the bust point. Do not cut half inch up and half inch down. Do not do anything to it, just draw a straight line. But then you would increase the bottom line by 0.7, because if you don't, somehow it still ends up shorter. When we're done, we replace our measurements back before adding regular allowance. That is the back. At the bottom, I'll add half an inch for your sewing allowance. Because of, usually this is for a joining or for a top, I like to cut out a bit from my back so that it will help me reduce or totally eliminate that puffiness that the zip can have if I do not do this, and if you do not do this. I like calling them dinosaur spikes. Now from the center point, from the end of the zip space, I'm going to come up by half an inch and connect that part to the half inch at the bottom. If you have any questions, please drop all your questions in the comments. I would be very, very happy to reply, to get feedback from you people. If you are enjoying the content, if you are getting value from this and you want to see more from me, please do not forget to subscribe. That is right. That's right. And we are done. That is the front of the princess that, and that is the back of the princess that. Please, I will say once again, if you have any questions, ask me. You can send me a message. No, don't send me a message. Ask me any questions you have in the comments below. Thank you. Have a lovely day.